Today, we're going to be discussing exactly how much Bitcoin you need to retire early. Okay, so we're going to be going through that, and I think it's actually a lot less than a lot of you guys might think. So, this is a very interesting video. We're going to be breaking down all of the numbers. And before we jump into it, if you do want any exchanges to use, all of the links that I personally use are down there in the description. And Sam, over to you.
Thank you. I'm just going to scoot you out here a little bit. So, first of all, I know Connor would mention this. There's a link underneath the video to Margex. You can sign up under Connor's link. You get a deposit bonus. You can start trading on leverage. It's not right for everyone, but it can be part of a well-rounded strategy to approach this next bull market. This is the time to be leverage trading if you're going long, because we are in pretty much an up-only market. So, of course, make sure you understand the risks of leverage trading as well. Now, today we're going to be going through how much Bitcoin you need to retire. Now, we're going to use a lot of assumptions here, right? Some people might be withdrawing $4,000 a month. Some people might be withdrawing $100,000 a month in retirement. It depends on how you want to live. It depends on where you're living. Also, a lot of it comes down to where you think Bitcoin's going to be. Do you think it's going to be $100,000, $500,000, $2 million in 10 years? So I'm going to put out the numbers. I'm going to show you, based on your assumptions of how much you're going to spend and where you think Bitcoin is, how much you need to retire. So don't be raging in the comment section saying $4,000 isn't enough, because again, you can change it depending on where you're at and how much you spend. Now, we're going through a couple different scenarios. Okay, so we are going to be using a 4% safe withdrawal rate. This is something that's used in traditional finance, basically saying if you have $1 million portfolio, you can withdraw $40,000 a year, and the appreciation of your portfolio, so the rest of the portfolio that goes up, makes up for the 4% you withdraw. This is something that's been studied before using the S&P 500 index as something that generally works out. About 96% of the time, 96% of scenarios over time, you would have money left at the end of a 30, 40-year period. Now, we don't do that with Bitcoin because Bitcoin's not been around this long, but it's appreciated much more. It's also more volatile. So we're just going to use the 4% safe withdrawal rate, and you have been fine in the past, even withdrawing more, but we're going to assume 4%. So again, if you have $1 million worth of Bitcoin, you can withdraw $40,000 a year. You can sell $40,000 a year. Now, we also have some different ways you want to retire. I say FIRE here. FIRE stands for financial independence, retire early. This first scenario is basically coasting FIRE. Like, you work really hard, you put away a lot of crypto, you put away a lot of Bitcoin, and in about 10 years, you don't have enough to retire, but you just sit on that for another 15 years. So maybe you're 25, you work until you're 35, stashing away a lot of Bitcoin. Then you maybe go part-time or something. Enjoy life. You don't have to put anything away for retirement, and you just wait another 15 years, and then you have enough to retire. That's coasting FIRE. That one's probably a little bit more complicated than a lot of these other scenarios. We're going to say cost of living, maybe in America or wherever you're at, is $70,000. So the next scenario is lean FIRE, and we'll go through how much Bitcoin in a second. But the next scenario is lean FIRE. Basically, you're going to live life under the cost of living. Like, you're not going to have an expensive car. You just want to retire. You're going to cut back on some expenses, maybe not go out to eat as much because you're retired. You can make food more at home. So this is like the fastest way of retiring, besides like waiting for an extended period of time. You get as much Bitcoin as you can for the next 10 years, and then you live like pretty down to earth. The next is traditional FIRE. You know, if we're retiring early, we probably want to live well. So this is going to be 1.5 times the cost of living in the US, and we're going to go through some different countries as well, maybe Australia, Mexico. But you're going to live life pretty well, spending $100,000 a year, $105,000 to be exact. Fat FIRE is you're living life fat, like you are spending a good amount of money, $210,000 a year. And then filthy rich FIRE, you're spending 10 times the cost of living. You're spending $700,000 a year. You can do pretty much whatever you want. Maybe you can't buy a private jet, but you can fly business class or first class a lot of places. You can take multiple vacations a year. You can have a couple $1 million homes. You can have $100,000 cars, and you're going to be fine. So let's go through these different scenarios for how much Bitcoin you need. We're just going to show this entire chart here, and then we'll be going through how you could actually get there, like how much would this cost and stuff like that. So if you assume Bitcoin's going to $250,000, so only a 4x from here, 10 years from now, and you just want to be able to spend, 50% more than the cost of living. You want to spend $105,000 a year. You need about 10.5 Bitcoin. That makes sense, right? If you're going to spend $100,000 a year at $250,000 per Bitcoin, that's $2.5 million. 4% rule, 4% of $2.5 million is 100 grand. So you would be able to spend 100 grand if you had 10.5 Bitcoin, continue to withdraw 4% a year indefinitely. Now, what if you're a little bit more bullish? You believe in that $1 million price target. Some people say it's going to be by 2030. Some people say we're never going to hit there. But if you're watching this video, you're probably pretty bullish on Bitcoin. So let's say you think we're going to be 10 years from now, we're going to hit we're going to hit $1 million Bitcoin. Okay. If you want to withdraw, again, about $105,000 a year, you need about 2.63 Bitcoin. So you still have to be a whole coiner. I realize some people aren't whole coiners. That's okay. We'll go through some cheaper ways that you can do this. But keep in mind, even at $1 million Bitcoin, you're not going to be able to buy a couple $1,000s worth of Bitcoin today and retire. It's not possible. When you're talking about a 13, 14x on Bitcoin, you're going to need more Bitcoin than that couple $1,000s. You're still going to need a few Bitcoin in that scenario. And then obviously, if you want to live bigger, if you want to spend more money, you're going to need more Bitcoin. If you want to live life a little bit leaner, maybe you need a little bit less Bitcoin. Now, what if we went somewhere else? What if we were in, let's say, Australia, for example? I didn't know this, but the cost of living in Australia is actually lower on average than the cost of living in the US, about $52,000. So if you want to live in Australia, say Bitcoin's at $1 million, you want to spend $100,000 a year, you only need about 1.94 Bitcoin as opposed to 2.63. So a significantly lower amount. You can go through some of the other numbers here. But what if you wanted to live somewhere even cheaper? A lot of people, maybe in Western countries, in the US, Canada, they go down to Mexico on vacation. So what if you want to live in Mexico? Well, instead of that 1.94 Bitcoin at $1 million, you need about 1.3 Bitcoin. And there are places even cheaper. Maybe you want to go to Bali. I know my friend Conor loves Bali. You could, you could live much cheaper there too. But I realize for a lot of people, 1.3 Bitcoin, 2.6 Bitcoin, it's still hard to get to. So how can you get there? And of course, you could increase the safe withdrawal rate, but you are increasing your risk of running out of your Bitcoin, of running out of money. Well, one way that you can get to these goals is just by buying over time. Instead of buying right now, when we're up 4x from the bottom, you could have bought a while ago. And I realized, I was making videos, Conor was making videos about buying Bitcoin at the bottom of the bear market, but a lot of people didn't do it. So the cost today, let's say, again, if you want this 2.63 Bitcoin, the cost today would be about $173,000, more than I'd say probably anyone besides a millionaire can buy in Bitcoin if you're buying like right now. Of course, maybe you've accumulated for years and you put all your retirement income or all of your extra income into Bitcoin. Maybe you could have put in $173,000, but like if you look at a random millionaire that has $1 million, most of them don't have 20% liquidity to go put into Bitcoin. Most of them have it tied up in businesses, rental properties. So again, maybe it would be smart to dollar cost average over time. Maybe you can't buy it today, but the last time I made this video, well, I made it just a few days ago, a very similar video to this, but the time that I made it before this was October 18, 2023. So, 6 months ago. Then instead of $173,000, the cost was actually about $75,000. Bitcoin was just $28,000, and we were pounding the drum to hit buy on Bitcoin to continue to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. So it was much cheaper then. It was 40% the cost. And if you had bought towards the bottom of the bear market, you could have bought for $40,000. If you had bought back in the 2018 bear market, and this isn't even the best time to be buying. Of course, we could have bought, like I said, in 2018. It would have cost $8,400 to spend, $105,000 a year, assuming we get to a $1 million Bitcoin in 10 years. And of course, we don't know that's going to happen. But what I'm trying to show is, this is probably lower than most people think. Of course, that's assuming we get to a $1 million Bitcoin. We don't exactly account for taxes because everyone lives in different countries. Everyone has different tax rates. Everyone's got a different situation. And we don't account for inflation because we don't know what the inflation is going to be. But we are talking about just 10 years out. We're not talking about 30, 40 years out. One other thing is, too, maybe you don't need 2.63 Bitcoin because most of us probably have other assets. Maybe we have 401ks. Maybe we have businesses that will still spit off some cash or some rental properties. So, diversification is still key. We're not talking about only putting money into Bitcoin, but this could be a significant amount of your retirement. And I actually just made a video on my own channel talking about how I was putting half of my emergency fund for rental property into Bitcoin. So if you want to go check out that video, you can see that, and that might be able to help you get to your stacking goals. I explain why I do that, the numbers behind it, how much that will be worth in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's kind of crazy too. But hopefully this gives you some idea of how much Bitcoin you need. And, some of these numbers are a bit arbitrary. I should have said this at the beginning. Like, will you retire exactly when you hit 5.25 Bitcoin instead of when you hit 5 Bitcoin? Not necessarily. And we don't know the exact price of Bitcoin. Some of these numbers, we can massage them, right? You can say, well, Bitcoin's going to be $600,000, so I only need 4.8 Bitcoin, right? It's kind of like when you go to the gym. If you're bench pressing and you're bench pressing 95 pounds and then you really want to hit that 100-pound mark, like nothing really changes when you bench press 100 pounds. It's not like it's not like your body really changes. You can physically see that you're much stronger. You hit 3 digits on a bench press. It's just kind of an arbitrary number, but it helps us continue to progress forward. Just like stacking, and maybe you start with 0.31 Bitcoin, and then you're like, okay, I want to move into lean fire instead of coasting fire. I want 0.75, and then I want 1, and then I want 1.31, right? And then I want to move up because what if Bitcoin doesn't hit 2 million? Maybe it hits 1 million. Like, these are kind of arbitrary numbers, but they keep you focused on stacking more Bitcoin, which I think is important at the end of the day. But let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Let us know what you're stacking. If you're looking at numbers like this, if you like videos like this, let me know. Let Conor know if you want him to have more of these videos in the future.
Yeah, this is very much something that I intend to do. Me and Sam are both very much intending to retire using cryptocurrency, and we're close to it already, I guess, because we've been doing this for a long time. And I, along with Sam, genuinely want you guys to have the opportunity to do exactly the same thing. So whether or not you're in a full-time job, you're still in school, or you've already retired, I make videos about this each and every day, what's happening in the market. Sam does the same thing, and we are here to be your eyes on the market because we work every single day, all day long. I'm on holiday currently, and we're here sitting in his studio making videos. So if you appreciate that sort of stuff, go and follow Sam's channel. And if you are new to my channel, smash the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.